electromagnetic field excess. We are electrical people. We have a spark of electricity in every cell. Our nervous system specifically is our electrical system. Electromagnetic field has the ability to tamper or interfere with your electromagnetic field, causing damage at the cellular level, even at the DNA level. In humans, they are 10 hertz. That's the electromagnetic field in humans. And that's, I think it's 10 revolutions per second. And with huge power lines, you often get a 50 hertz, and it's well known to cause damage at the cellular level. My children used to like going up to the huge towers. It was about 1 kilometre away from where we lived when they were little, or when they were adolescent, and they would find everlasting daisies with 5 centres. They would find all this mutation in plant life underneath these big electrical towers. So if these towers have the ability to tamper with the DNA of plants and the DNA of animals, what about the DNA of humans? Absolutely. It was never allowed that houses could be built under those huge towers, but I see in housing states today they're there, and they are a contributing factor to damage of the DNA, even to contributing to disease in the human body.
Hey, Inspire Tribe, my fellow freedom lovers. It's John Nolan here. Thank you so much for tuning in. It is Tuesday, August 19th, 2025. Out of the Matrix into Prime Reality. That's the mantra here. Thanks for joining us on X, Rumble, and YouTube, and the incredible team in the live chat. Before we start, I'd like to ask you to like and share this stream with your friends and family. We can't rely on the algorithm. You know this. It's getting tampered with. But what else is new? Let's dive into the subject at hand, which is really important. Not understood at all by most people and completely underestimated by others, which is the subject of EMFs, electromagnetic frequencies. And I'm not talking about the ones that are occurring naturally, but the ones that are occurring artificially. The effects are immeasurable in a way that, or because we simply don't have the long-term studies yet, but what we do have shows a very, very grim picture, specifically because of the incredible increase over the last 5 years. Now, I know that a lot of what is happening in the world with people, their illnesses, their, unalivements and whatnot, is contributed to one thing. And I agree with that. We've talked about this a lot, a certain medical procedure, but it is often underestimated how that in combination with EMFs or EMFs just by themselves are an incredible stressor on our systems. And so I want to talk about a bit deeper understanding about what is happening, but most importantly, what you can do, 10 ways that you can mitigate those effects, and other tips of what to use, how to use it, and what to do, which is incredibly important. It could literally up-level your life and increase your quality of life by hundreds of % in a very short period of time. And most people are not doing it, although it's so simple. So let's talk about this, friends. Really important. First and foremost, here it is. We need to understand what happened. Where this came from. And I think we froze. There we are back. Okay. So 100 years ago versus today, we had fundamentally almost only natural fields 100 years ago. Of course, there were some technologies, yes, but largely natural fields. And so the exposure to artificial EMFs was virtually zero, artificial EMFs. And some of the even chronic things that people are experiencing today didn't exist back then, okay? So then we had the huge revolution with the radio. There was coincidentally, in those years, it was coincidentally between 1918, 1920. There was this huge thing they called the pandemic, coincidentally happened during the same time as certain technologies were pushed out. It's of course purely coincidental, you know, who would think anything else? And then you had, of course, the big revolution between the 20s and the 50s, TV, radio, satellites, radar, that you know, increased the EMFs, the artificial EMFs, and we can see some correlating effects on society. Of course, we can only speculate whether they really correlate, but it is interesting to look at the timeline. It's not just physical effects that we can observe, behavioral effects that we can observe, psychological, spiritual health effects that we can observe. If you correlate the timelines, you will see certain things very interesting, but nothing compared to what has happened now in the last 20 years, and specifically in the last 5 years, where we are the exposure, so the background, which is constantly there, it's not activity specific, so that's the exposure to EMF that's constantly there, is millions and probably billions of times higher than it was 100 years ago. Billions. So the fact that you and I are sitting here having this conversation and enjoying a certain level of health and well-being is actually miraculous and speaks to our incredible resilience. So this is what happened. And then, like I said, the last 50 years, it isn't just that the amount of EMFs has increased and the amount of technology, it's that the bandwidth of frequencies is a different one that was used before. As a matter of fact, for example, with this latest rollout, if you can remember that, this latest rollout that started officially in 19 or 20, it gave us this new millimeter wave bandwidth between 24 and 40 gigahertz or more now. With they're expanding the bandwidth, which used to be, by the way, classified as military grade frequencies. These were only used in military grade weapons. You know, I started reading up on this technology some 10, 15 years ago when the talk started about this. And there was back then a consensus, if you will, from the scientific community that this shouldn't happen. Of course, who listened, you know? And then we have the Internet of Everything. Literally, this is the, you know, consider this trend of tokenization where everything in our world is itemized and tokenized. It has a digital representation, and that requires it to be connected to the system. So we're now basically, they already have mapped out the entire world, which requires an incredible amount of bandwidth and frequencies, you know, kind of radiating all over the place. I want to go back just a little bit. This first image here, if you look at this here, this is what it could potentially look like if our naked eye were capable of seeing all the frequencies that are there. This is an urban area, and this is basically just showing the frequencies that we can see. The truth is, if we could see those, you know, the invisible rainbow, it's a good book on the subject, by the way. If we could see it, we couldn't see anything else, and we couldn't walk, we couldn't function, because we wouldn't see anything else but these frequencies in front of our eyes at all times. So, and basically, we're bathing in a sea of EMFs every day, all day, everywhere we go, and we are enhancing or contributing to the problem if we're not aware of what we can do. People that actually take a few certain steps, you know, are having tremendous effects. But this is what is affected by those EMFs, and this is putting it very, very carefully. You know, it's one of those subjects that you have to really go and find studies for each of these points, and we did, and we have, just so you know. But the EMFs, in terms of how it affects the body, when we're very conservative, we're talking about severe effects on the brain, potentially severe effects on the brain and nervous system, which is, you know, steering the rest of the body, DNA and cellular stress. So in experiments with rats, they have seen a breaking of the DNA, a breakdown of the actual DNA. So we're seeing at that level, at the fundamental information level of the body, we're seeing tremendous stress and damage being done in those rat studies. Heart and autonomic balance. So basically, in studies, it was shown that it has an effect on the autonomous nervous system, which functions or regulates the things in your body that you don't think about, your digestions, your heartbeat, your blood flow, all those things, that it has a tremendous effect on the autonomic system, and hence causes problems with that. Sleep and hormones, we are the generation that is suffering from the worst sleep, insomnia, and insomnia related issues, which are anxiety, depression, bipolar even, is very often correlated with insomnia issues. Of course, immune system and sensitivity, and what we have seen tremendously, one of the huge contributing factors to fertility and reproduction problems, both not just male sperm count, but both in men and women. There's a correlation with EMFs. Of course, there's other stuff that has a huge impact, microplastics, the foods that we eat, lifestyle, and so forth. But EMFs, tremendous impact on our entire lives. And you really don't know how big it is until you remove yourself either from the sources of EMF, or you start mitigating. You start using strategies to mitigate the effects that it has on you. And you can, wherever you are. And we're going to talk about 10 free things that you can do, completely free things that you can start doing today that are going to help you tremendously. So let's look at this here. Number one thing, this is a principle. The more distance that you can put between you and the source, the better. And we're talking feet matter here, not just miles. Feet matter even in your home. So if you can strategically place devices, routers, Wi-Fi routers in strategic places in the home, just that will help you greatly. I'll give you an example. We were staying in a vacation rental not too long ago, and believe it or not, it just slipped my mind to make that connection or check for it. But Christine and I, we for the life of us couldn't sleep well. Now, granted, it was high altitude, so there was that too, but just incredibly bad sleep, and I just couldn't figure out what it was, because we were in a low, generally speaking, in a low EMF area. It was pretty far out in nature, until I realized, and took me God knows how many days to figure out, that on the other side of the wall where our bed was, and our heads were, so the way that the bed was set up, our heads were of course against the wall. On the other side of that wall was the Wi-Fi router, and it was in a little dresser. So I didn't see it at first. And it took me so long to figure out that it was there. And once we turned it off at night, there were no more problems with the sleep. But this is literally how big this can be. So you have to really pay attention to that. Also at night, some simple things. Turn your phone, turn it off, or airplane mode, at worst airplane mode. If you have a Faraday back, or you just want to literally wrap it in aluminum foil, that will help. But turn it off, put it in another room. Your alarm will still work even in airplane mode. Make sure that you don't have anything in your room that is pulling a signal. So even if your Wi-Fi router is turned on, even if it is turned on, if you have no devices in your room that interact with that router, then that's already much better. But I would literally put everything out of the room, unplug the Wi-Fi router at night. It's really easy to do. You put a timer into your socket, and you just set the timer to certain hours at night where it just shuts off electricity to the Wi-Fi router. So you don't even have to manually unplug it, and boom, like 7-8 hours, however long you don't use it, just make sure that it's unplugged. Makes all the difference. Your sleep will get much, much better. Hardwire wherever possible. It'll give you a better internet connection. People have forgotten about the Ethernet cables, which are literally, they used to be those yellow cables. Now they're oftentimes white as well. But it's not just that. It's keyboards, that are wireless, your mouse that might be wireless, or other devices. Literally turn off as much as you can and go to wired stuff, okay, versus Wi-Fi. Then, like I already said, airplane mode. Now, your phone won't stop emitting a signal totally in airplane mode. People know this. Even when you turn it off, it won't. But it reduces it like in a huge, huge way. So when you do that, it's a big thing. Create physical barriers like a Faraday bag. And those are pretty inexpensive to get, by the way. A Faraday bag literally, like it literally interrupts the signal completely. So when your phone, your devices are in a Faraday bag, nothing comes out, nothing comes in. It's a barrier. Aluminum foil, like I said, helps pretty well too. And then there's also these Faraday nets that you can put around your bed and that have a also tremendous effect, right? So that's incredible, where you get, I mean, up to 99% shielding, and if you find the right one. And they have, they have silver in it. You have to look for that in those Faraday nets that go around your bed. People that have built Faraday cages or nets around their bed report they have like baby-like sleep again, right? So really, really great to do. Speakers, speakerphone, when you talk on your phone, make sure that you're either on speakerphone so you can hold it farther away from you, or you have wired headphones. Where are they? Here they are. No, they're somewhere else. I don't know. But I never use Bluetooth. I never use AirPods. It's always wired headphones. For a while, I used to work with AirPods, and I can just tell you what I felt. Like, this is purely personal. I felt the effects on my brain functioning. There was a nervousness that I couldn't really point to. And then I realized, holy moly, and that was years ago. It's the AirPods, and I threw them out, got the wired ones, no more problems whatsoever. Much better, by the way, and great quality too. So I would encourage everyone. People say, oh, it's so inconvenient. Well, damn, it's so inconvenient to have a little wire go from your headphones? Come on. It's not inconvenient at all. We used to do it all the time. So this, even just holding your phone on speakerphone versus putting it to your brain, massive difference, massive difference. The studies show that this from here to here can mean the difference between good brain health and some really, really bad stuff that can happen in your brain. Just saying. This is an interesting one. Most people wouldn't believe that. But when you are in a weak signal zone, so where your phone, your cell phone doesn't have good service, it actually works harder and emits more to get reception. It works harder, if you will. So when you use your phone in weak signal zones a lot to make calls, your EMF exposure is far higher than in a high connection zone, which is kind of strange, but that's how the device itself works. Another big one that people don't do, and I don't understand it, is the unplugging of devices. Like, literally, if you have a smart TV, if you have a radio, anything that's plugged in, if any of your appliances are smart, because now we need washers and dryers that speak to our phones for some reason, that enhances their ability to dry the clothes. And of course, we need a freaking refrigerator that talks to our phones and talks to the grocery store. The bullshit, crap. Don't get that shit. It's crap. It's bullshit. It's just another way to bring that into your house. But unplug everything that you don't use. Make sure at night you do the rounds and just pull the plug. Like, it's that simple. Just pull the plug. And make sure that devices that are not used, your tablets, your laptops, your whatever, are either turned off or in airplane mode. Think about it this way. When your device is turned off or in airplane mode, it does not communicate with the Wi-Fi router, because there's no signal coming from it. So there's no communication. Wherever you can reduce that or eliminate that, it will help you balancing your nervous system. It'll help you sleep better. You will feel better. You will hydrate better. People don't know that. But because this, at a cellular level, we're under such stress with the EMFs, all of the functions are not as optimal as they can be. So even hydration works better when we are doing that. Then a big thing, like people send me links to gadgets and stickers and stuff that supposedly does all this miraculous thing, these miraculous things and mitigate EMFs. Most of them are complete hogwash and do nothing really. They're just good marketing. And there are things that work, by the way. And we're going to get into that too. But be sort of selective with that. Your biggest mitigator is becoming aware of your space and your behavior. So you go and you check your entire house and you become aware of what is emitting EMFs, what is emitting a little bit, what's emitting a lot. And then you start working on that. You start minimizing that, hardwiring. Don't use Bluetooth when you don't have to. Don't use Wi-Fi when you don't have to. Turn off your router. All these things do much more than slapping some sticker on your phone that usually does not work. Okay. So what else can we do? These are active ways. And I encourage you to bookmark this, save this show, screenshot the things, come back to it. These are all things that work. So what you need to understand is that because we're in a high EMF environment, our cells in our body are under constant stress. So they're working much, much harder. And certain things, because it works harder to shield you against it, it can't do the other stuff as well. So you have to up your antioxidant rich foods. That's what you got to do. So it gets into the cellular in the mitochondrial level and helps the mitochondria to rebuild itself, if you will. So you look into berries, dark leafy greens, turmeric, green tea, vitamin C, magnesium, zinc. Look for foods that are high in these to help your body. And of course, there are some incredible supplements that do that as well. But first and foremost, we're looking for the things that you can do without additional cost, right? Grounding. The difference between you being in a permanent inflammatory state, which, you know, EMFs are, there's a correlation there too, and not being in that can be half an hour to an hour spending outside in your bare feet. Now, I know there are grounding shoes and all of that, and good for you, but bare feet are always the best if you can. You know, if you're, for example, incredible effects, if you're in this on a sandy beach and you're in your bare feet all day, wow, that's incredible grounding. But grass, moss, dirt, you name it, whenever you're connected to the earth, you're discharging, and you're literally sending the electrical charge into the earth, and that is one of the biggest contributors to balancing our health again. We used to sleep on the ground. We used to sit on the ground. We used to walk all day on the ground. We used to be connected to nature, and that happened at all times. And then they invented all these things, beds that are raised on artificial materials, chairs were raised, shoes, rubber soles, all those things keep us from grounding. Now, add a bonus if you can, and get a grounding mat for your bed, for example, and you sleep on that. Now, that's just an added bonus. But if you just go outside in your bare feet, you're going to ground. If you lay in the grass, you're going to ground. Okay. Very, very important. Hydration. Structured or mineral-rich water. Tap water in most places on Earth, completely worthless. Okay. And it's very bad here. It's very bad in Canada and United States. Other countries, it's a little better in some, but for the most part, if you don't get your water from a spring and it comes, you know, into your faucet from a spring or from a well, and you know the quality of the water, you're not getting good water. And that's a fact. So you need to enrich it with something, whether you get Celtic salt or whether you get, you know, mineral concentrations that are high quality, or whether you can get better water to drink. Incredibly important for EMF mitigation. When your cells are properly hydrated, they are on full defense mode. They can actually defend against that. When they're not, they can't. So this is very important. Meditation and breath work helps you to regulate the nervous system. I can't tell you enough. And try this, just simple things, okay? You don't even have to do a guided breath work. Before you start your day, when you wake up and before you go to sleep, the first and the last thing of the day, do 5 minutes of conscious deep breathing, conscious deep breaths, like a 3-second breath in, 3-second hold, 3 seconds out, or 5 seconds in, 5-second hold, 5 seconds out. If you do that for 5 minutes, you are going to balance and re-regulate your nervous system. Everything's going to start to calm down. Everything's going to start to be more balanced. You're in a better state. I mean, one of the simplest things you can do, so highly effective, sleep hygiene, because our sleep, the way that we are currently programmed, certain people need 5 hours, others need 8 hours, but between 5 and 8 hours for most humans to function, and for their nervous systems, autoimmune systems, and everything else to function, they need that sleep. So the EMFs mess incredibly with our circadian rhythms, so our bodies can't tune into that rhythm. So you have to do something about it. You remove the sources, and then you make sure that your patterns become more natural. Like if you go to bed at 2 a.m., you're losing the best hours of the day for sleep. The best hours are usually before midnight. So very important. So you want to improve your melatonin producing habits. A no-brainer. After a certain time of the day, don't do caffeine. It literally produces a counter effect on that. And then, like I said, spending time in nature, around natural bodies of water, mountains, sand, dirt, grass, trees, no-brainers, but it so helps to mitigate the stress, and you are actually connecting to the natural frequency of the earth, and you're rebalancing. So these are things that you can all do all day, every day, to help you mitigate. Another one, stones and crystals. And I would say that we have tried just about anything, shungite being the number one, but it's important to get it from a proper source. I know that black obsidian is also very powerful, but shungite is by far has had the biggest feelable effect. It absorbs and neutralizes those frequencies, supposedly. I can only say what we feel. And I would get pure Russian sourced shungite. There's shungite from other places, and it doesn't test as well. It's been tested by our friends plenty of times. The Russian stuff tests the best. And that's actually something that works when you stick it on your phone, when you stick it on your computer, when you have shungite close to you, or you wear it on the body as a bracelet or somewhere. It does work. It does help with the mitigation. It's very, very powerful, shungite. So that's the number one, and we've tried all the rest too. Now, here's the bonus tip, which for at least 15 days, and that's why I included it, is also free. And they just did an incredible EMF mitigation upgrade. So it's the most powerful EMF mitigation system in our opinion. Okay, that's just my opinion. So this was literally why we chose to work with FLFE, was because when I was on the trial, I didn't know I was on the trial, by the way. Christine signed us up, and I was so busy doing other stuff that I had no idea. That was 2 years ago. And within the first 2 or 3 days, I had these incredible effects of much better sleep, much more energy, the brain fatigue, the fog, the things that was just gone. And I didn't know what it was until we reverse engineered it. And so they've shown this in studies too, but the most common things that people experience as side effects of EMFs are anxiety, brain fog, fatigue, depression, and they all went significantly down during a study that they conducted over 45 days. So people reported consistently across the board that those negative effects came down significantly in their lives in just 45 days of being in an FLFE field. So that was before they did the huge upgrade. They just launched this last weekend. So they did, this is a new multi-layer EMF mitigation that's on there. So there are 3 new what they call protective bubbles, and they're active on your phone or object or supporting you wherever you go. But the bubbles are the programs, if you will. Those are the consciousness programs that are running that produce this layer of protection. They also changed the home system where now each room has its own EMF mitigation bubble, which makes a huge difference. And we're noticing it too. For the most part, sleep quality has gone up. As a matter of fact, I just talked to my son who hasn't been sleeping well lately. And for the past 2 days, he's literally, and he has no idea this happened. He just says, I'm having sleeping like a baby for the past 2 days. I don't know what's happening, and we haven't changed anything else in the house. But it's the new EMF upgrade that's been active. And then the reduction of micronegativity zones. So basically the program, the FLFE field is set up in a way that it neutralizes micronegativity zones. And you could see that even at sacred sites. When people go to a temple, when people go to a church that's very high vibing, or a natural sacred site, they can feel incredibly empowered in one place, but then they move 10 feet over and something's really off. And that's what they call micronegativity zones. The same can be true for your house. You can feel really, really good in one room, in one particular corner of one room. That's where your favorite chair is, and you feel amazing. But when you sit on the other side of the room, for some reason, something's off, sometimes even so that people get physical effects, like their stomach is upset in certain rooms. Those are micronegativity zones. And that's what this new program deals with much, much better. It's much more powerful in neutralizing that. So in terms of EMF mitigation that goes beyond what we can do, beyond the unplugging, the airplane mode, the Faraday bags, and the stuff that I just talked about, this is the most powerful service that can support you in EMF mitigation. So incredibly strong that when we now go to different places, when we travel, when we host a retreat somewhere, we make sure that we put an FLFE subscription on the vacation rental that we're at, on the space that we rent for retreats or where we go, because it makes such a huge difference. And I can only encourage you to give it a try. Like I said, 15 days, no questions asked, no credit card needed. It's a complete gift. If you go to highconsciousnessfield.com, I would encourage everyone to give it a try, at least, for those 15 days. And you'll see how you feel. There's boosts that you can turn on and off and whatnot. But in overall speaking, you could sleep better tonight if you go back and look at those 10 points and do a breathwork exercise tonight. If you do that, if you unplug your router, if you unplug your smart devices, if you put your phone in airplane mode and put it into another room, if you make sure that your head is nowhere near some device or EMF emitting device while you sleep, you will sleep better tonight. It's virtually guaranteed. I mean, unless you have some huge other stressor going on, but virtually guaranteed. What happens is, if you do that for 2 nights, 3 nights, 5 days, 10 days, 15 days, your nervous system and all other biochemical processes in the bodies will have more time and space to breathe, replenish, rejuvenate. The last thing here, very, very important. This is why I love how they do this at FLFE, because they realize you can't simply help people to mitigate the effects. You have, at the same time, you have to support the body in assimilating to these frequencies, because the truth is there is nowhere to escape. Yes, if you go out into the woods, into nature, into the mountains, it's much better. But with what we have overhead now, with tens of thousands of satellites, low orbit satellites that are designed to emit 5G and soon 6G signals down to Earth, we are bathing in that regardless. So we need to, yes, mitigate, but at the same time, that mitigation should support us in our assimilation, because our body needs to adjust to these frequencies. It's just no way around it, because we have no way of turning them off. So we need to adjust. We need to teach our body to adjust. Give it enough room and space so it can do that. That's what they at FLFE, they really acknowledge that, and they have baked that into the high consciousness field so that it supports the body in the assimilation process. And that's why I love it so much. But breathwork, meditation, grounding, immersion in nature and natural water helps that so much. because the alternative will be, in a few short months and years, months, I presume, you will see a more public conversation about ways to enhance your body so it can adjust to the increased EMFs more and more. And so they will start telling people that getting some upgrade, technological upgrade, will help them greatly. And that's going to be a selling point, you know. And I will never accept that into my body. So I'm doing everything else that I can to adjust to that the best I can. Also, last but not least, if you're familiar with Sabrina Wallace's work, then you already know that it isn't just around us, but it is going through us, and our bodies are used as conduits, and our biofields are used. So when we build up our natural defense systems and shields, I I I would say that that becomes hard or impossible to do, but we have to consciously create those shields and consciously support our body in it. So that's why this is so incredibly important, and you truly hold the power to it, my friends. So once again, please save this, share this. Everybody should know this. These are simple things anyone can do that will change so much for the better. So with that, let's open it up. If you have any questions for a little bit of a Q&A here, any questions are welcome. I might not answer any questions, but I'll do my best. But yeah, please feel free. It doesn't have to be topic related. It can be anything and everything, my friends. So if you want to ask something, please feel free. Please put your questions in all caps so they're easier to identify.
I don't know if I want to put a question like
that. I see the question from the Great Awakening. Yeah, I see that.
I'm not sure. This is inappropriate.
Well, you know, the Great Awakening, I hear your frustration, and I understand why you're using the explicit language to describe that. But maybe if you want to put it on the screen, we can stay away from those cuss words. Not that I disagree with you, by the way, just saying. But if there's any other questions. Yes, I see that from Stacy, right?
Oh, hold on.
Stacy's asking, have you used FLFE's verified Shun Guide? Yes, we are. And the FLFE system it has its own program baked into it that works with the Shun Guide. So the Shun Guide's effects are sort of optimized. So yes, I would absolutely, and they've tested that over and over again. So yes, I would look for their verified Shun Guides on their website. And yes, we're using those, and they're by far the best. That's why we're using them.
Can you address that, because she's saying that FLFE is not good for a lot of people?
Danielle says it shouldn't be said that everyone in the study got upgrades, up leveling. Not true. I didn't say that. I said that most people experienced these effects, and there's nothing that works for everyone at the same time all the time. So that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying that across the board, you see either you see feelable effects in humans that they can actually describe. You have very, very often effects in pets and animals. We're just going to get in new anecdotes from a podcaster of Great Britain. She works with animals, and she's going to share what that did for her animals, which is, by the way, that's that's not a placebo. You also see the upgrades in the soil health. That's not a placebo effect. You see the growth in plants that is increased, leaf size that is increased. Those things are clearly verifiable and not placebos. But Danielle, there's another thing here too, is that this is not a miracle weapon or a miracle healer that can level out or balance out everything and anything else that happens in people's lives. And unhealed traumas and whatnot. It's a support system, right? Nobody makes the claims that this is somehow the magic bullet. It's a support system. It's one of the best ones in the world today, but that doesn't mean it replaces inner work where everybody has the same experience, or that there can even be an expectation that everybody has the same experience. This is just what we're seeing with the people that we work with the thousands of comments and emails that we've received, that there's across the board some incredible effects. Chaos 101 says, do you 100% know our future is coming? I don't know what that exactly means, but so the only thing that I know 100% is that at the core, at my very essence, I'm 100% a co-creator. No limitations there, 100% a co-creator. Since I know that, I feel very positive. For people who don't know that, never discover that, question that, doubt that, fear that, worry about that, it's very different. I get that. But since I know that I'm a full-blown co-creator, the answer is yes. Any idea what the frequency of shungite is? No, I don't really. And it's also because it's, that's not where I go so often. I will read the studies, I'll do tests, I'll read studies about, how many people have had certain effects when around shungite or that, but no, I don't know that.
That was all for today.
That was all for today? No more questions. Okay, friends. Well, thank you for tuning in. We're doing this more frequently, kind of the question thing, the interaction thing, on our locals platform, inspired.locals.com, with our subscribers there. I want to thank everyone for the support, and we'll see you all very, very soon again. And please, one more time, save this, share this, do this. I will say this, and that's something that I should probably say after every show we do. All the information that we share is only worth something if you can take something and apply it and make it actionable. If you click off here and you go to the next video and the next video and you don't do anything with that information, you don't apply it, try it, test it, share it, or whatever, there's no value in it. And our mission really is to empower through radical truth. And so these things work, and I encourage you to test it and try it in your life, and come back in 10 days, 20 days, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. Come back to this show, leave a comment, let us know how things are changing while you're doing this. And not just in you, but maybe in your children, in your spouse, in your pets, in your plants, whatever. This works, and it's highly important. All right, friends. Thank you for tuning in. We love you. We appreciate you. And we will be back with you again very, very soon. Your environment shapes everything, your thoughts, your health, your energy. But most people never question the invisible field they live in. We did, and that's when FLFE found us. It's not a product, it's a field of pure life force energy that lifts everything it touches. We now live in it 24/7, and we would love to invite you to experience it too. Start your free 15-day trial now. No pressure, no strings attached. Just the truth, resonance, and peace.